the square footage. You mentioned that for both locations, both sides of the avenue, 8th and 9th. And somebody, I forgot who it was, said, well, why would you not take the one on 8th when the traffic, the avenue is wider, trucks can park and unload, just like they do at Murray Hill. They have 34th Street. The guy parks right there on the street. They don't have a ramp. It's not like 18th Street, which is a very narrow street. The post office, Old Chelsea, it's blocked with traffic. It takes a while for that truck driver to back up, though they have a bay area. You can't avoid this. So what difference did it make to go to 8th Avenue, change a zip code to 114, because that becomes another zip code area, whether you realize it or not. And I don't know what the outlay is in Port Authority, but are all those PO boxes kind of rented out?
They are.
So why would you go smaller? You're now affecting, whether you realize it or not, already customers, because they're not going to be able to receive mail there because you're going to have less PO boxes. So how are you serving the community, sir?
We're serving the community by, one, not having to completely close down the station because we're losing that
You want that on the record? You want that on the record?
lease. Unfortunately,
Serving the community by not closing the post office. Brilliant.
Do you realize that under the Constitution, the Postal Service is mandated to give universal service at least anywhere where the people are living? What you're doing is exactly what you're doing is you're basically denying those people the right to get their mail. I don't see how in the world you can defend yourself. You defend yourself by saying by not closing the post office. I mean, come on. You know, let's get rid of the 1984
Work out a deal
double thick
with
English
your
language and get to brass tacks.
the person that you're leasing from now. Why would you go to a new real estate company or a new development? Has Google helped you in the past when you were in the middle of the block and they wanted that location for the retail store? They moved you to the corner?
That's correct.
well, I mean, Google only recently acquired that building, what, in 2011? So we've been there for longer than that. Our original tenant was the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. So
I grew up in the neighborhood. You don't have to give me a history lesson.
why was it?
But I'm telling you that if you would have sat down with them, instead of pitching 14th Street and somewhere else, they would go out of their way to help you guys out.
Within reason.
Has the volume of usage in that station gone down over the last 2 years?
Hell no, it went up.
Has it gone up substantially over that period?
They don't know, they're into real estate, they're not into
That's
banking.
operational. No, let's be real with our responses. The volume has not changed dramatically up or down. You're pretty much,
In what period of time? In the last 2 years?
well, you said the last 2 years, correct?
I said the last.
Right, so within the last,
I've been watching the traffic as the businesses in this Chelsea market's becoming much more of a commercial district and a tourist district. There's a hell of a lot more people using that station as their central point of mailing. So I can't imagine that the service, that the volume of work there has declined over the last, let's say, 5 years, over the last 5 years. Well, I mean, I It can't possibly have declined.
but I do have a working knowledge.
You're gonna go to a smaller place.
I do have a working,
Is the new place going to have the same services as the present place does? All the same services?
all the same services, that's correct.
Except fewer mailboxes?
Say again?
You are gonna have a
Except fewer mailboxes, or it's gonna have all the same
All the
services?
same services. And as it stands right now, you're not taking any out, right?
No.
No,
and
same
that's-
amount.
Our planning department came up with a number to maintain service, and this is the square footage they came up with. Now, if it's a little bit smaller, it doesn't mean that the service of PO boxes will be lost. It's just how they configured what the requirement is. It kind of continues to change.
How many people are gonna be working in the new facility as opposed to now?
The same amount. We're
They,
not,
they went from 5 or 6 down to 2 or 3.
we're the same amount of people that are working at the facility will be at the,
Guaranteed?
that is what it's gonna be, guaranteed. We are not impacting the amount of people that work at that facility.
So I have another question.
Sure.
on the record.
Now,
Same
let's say
amount of
we move to that 15th Street, Washington. That is, of course, another zip code mail. Now, you say that it's not going to affect the customers getting the mail. So my question is, because it's in a 14 zip code mail, and your drivers deal only with 111, are you changing their, because this is where that Article 5 comes in, and not for us so much the clerks, but the carriers, because now you're making them go outside of their zip code, 111, into an area of 114. So my question is that going to be addressed, and how is that mail going to be delivered? And because it's at 114, which is considered village, would they be considered now Village or Old Chelsea? Because you are in another zip code.
Okay, so that's a good question. The zip code, the driver's aspect of it is not really an impact. We send drivers past the zip code depending on what it is that we need every given day. They can go pick up mail from Morgan, they can go down to Church Street. That's not really, we don't have to change any contractual aspects to have the drivers go over to that location. Your second question, as far as the clerks are concerned, and would they be considered Village or Old Chelsea? Right now, the plan is to continue to keep them as Old Chelsea.
About the community as well.
She didn't say anything about community, but if she wants to ask about community, I can.
So the surrounding stores will be 114, and the post office will stay 111?
Yes.
How do you do that?
Magic.
How can you do that? That's a whole totally different
Because
zip
we're
code.
talking about a retail unit. We're not talking about a sector segment. When you're talking about addresses and address management, we're not changing any delivery aspect of that. We are just maintaining the integrity of the station by maintaining it as an Old Chelsea facility.
I just stepped in, but I've had my PO box. I'm well known by the workers, we have a great relationship. But I've been there since 2006, and the post office to me in this neighborhood has been vital for various reasons, which I can discuss quickly. But the thing is I'm sitting here, I'm grateful to you for having this forum, because at least you're considering the fact that this neighborhood needs that post office, and at least there's a couple of options on the table versus none. So I'm seeing it, the glass half full versus half empty. And, and I just say that, my P.O. box for me is vital. I'm a 9/11 first responder, and it's for security reasons. And need I say more? I mean, and that my P.O. box is on my driver's license. So I'm just saying is that I am a loyal customer, and I will always be, and I'm glad that at least we have this opportunity to all interface with each other.
I appreciate it.
Because it matters, it does matter.
Thank you for that.
Yes, sir. You had a question? You had your hand up?
Well, actually, it's a two-part question. One has to do with when you were dealing with Google originally, did you include any conversations with the elected officials that represent this area?
This was a proposal from Google that was given to us before we really even were talking about what was going on. We knew the lease was coming up for expiration. Usually that triggers a two-year window to start looking at, hey, we got a problem, what are we going to do with this lease coming up for expiration? And there were a lot of internal conversations with a property management company, Taconic, of proposals from Google to say, we're reorganizing the whole building, and we've got some ideas here. Let's start looking at it. Let's start putting some money to work and seeing if it's going to be something that will work for us. Unfortunately, what we've discussed here is what they proposed was not going to work for the Postal Service.
The answer is no.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so if you're aware that the January 30th, we call the first meeting. Those of us who were there call it something else. But anyway, there was a letter written dated February 5th, 2019, to the Postmaster General of the United States, Megan Brennan, that was signed by Gerald Nadler, who's the member of Congress for this community, Gail Brewer, the Manhattan Borough President, Corey Johnson, the New York City Council Speaker, Brad Hoylman, the New York State Senator, and Richard Godfrey, the New York State Assembly member, representing this area. And what they said, I'll just take out one paragraph. In a rather embarrassing moment for the agency, the USPS real estate representative sent to inform the public lamented that the USPS district staff was not in attendance, describing their absence as a disservice to the community, and claiming that he was unfamiliar with the specifics of our area due to the fact that he works across 12 states. Given the complete lack of information and outrageous lack of preparation on behalf of USPS at the public hearing, it is unfair to request members of the community to submit comments regarding the proposed relocation. Before proceeding, USPS must restart the comment process, beginning with an informative meeting that provides community with meaningful specifics on which to form an opinion. Anything less would continue this disservice to the community. This is the reason we're here tonight, because they wrote to the Postmaster General to complain about the first meeting, and the Postmaster General 10 days later said, yes, there's going to be another meeting. So the people who didn't have the pleasure of being at the first meeting when it was 5 degrees outside in a place with no sign, and they put out like 24 folding chairs, and the only person who was there was the real estate specialist. So let's not live in a fantasy world that somehow, all of a sudden now, you're going to be respectful for this community. So my question, is there anybody here who's representing any of the elected officials here in this community tonight?
Everybody's here.
Okay, so it'd be nice if you would identify yourself and let the people here know that there are people in attendance here, because we need to be together here, not just the people in the community and the union and the elected officials, because if it wasn't for all of us working together, this wouldn't even be here tonight, for whatever this is. Because you also said in your letter to the borough president that at this meeting, you would provide the address where people could write comments to. I keep looking around for where the papers are that you have that information that you promised in your letter to the borough president, but I don't see it. You have it stashed away later that you're going to hand out, the address for the comments? What? What?
The address is in there. Are you talking about my email address?
No, I'm talking about the address where people could write comments in the 30-day window that supposedly starts again tonight. Where is the address that you promised the borough president that you would provide to the people who came to this meeting tonight?
That address is my email address and my P.O. Box address that you can send your comments to. That's how the process
And how do
works.
we know that by telegraphy?
It's posted at the post office.
What?
It is posted in the lobby of the
Supposed to be
post
this
office.
meeting. What's the purpose of having this public hearing if you're not gonna have any information or how to participate?
She's supposed to behave better to the community, not giving us this same crap again. It says here, you promised to give out the address to people, not where people have to go over to the post office and copy it off the wall.
Right.
Yeah, how hard is it to print out a bunch of paper with the addresses on it? I mean, really, I mean, that's kind of basic when you're doing a public program of any kind.
They do it at other post office
Grammar
meetings.
school kids know how to do it.
Can't you treat the people from Port Authority as well as you treated the people at the meetings for Old Chelsea? What's the difference between the people at that meeting and the people at Old Chelsea?
That's right.
Well, what could be the difference? Why you're not treating them as well as those people? Is it because your predecessor was that much better than you? I don't think so. No one thinks that. What's the reason? It's not the same kind of thing? I mean, we met in an old, out-of-business restaurant with no heat and no chairs the last time. So now you at least got a place where it's supposed to be. But you can't even take 5 minutes to run off copies with the address. Say, oh, just go over, come on, man. I mean, you represent the post office.
They don't want comments.
You could at least given us a selfie with 426 West 14th Street showing up, or something on the screen, but man, you didn't even come up with that. I mean, this is highly disrespectful, again, to the community. I don't think you guys would be pulling that thing up at Lenox Hill or Yorkville or any of these other upper-class places in New York City. I don't think you'd be pulling this nonsense. So it's pretty obvious why you're doing it here.
Correct.
This is unforgivable. And so what your personal involvement may be in this particular outlook perspective that the Postal Service is showing us here, I don't know. But you've got to look at this as a highly disrespectful thing, because if I went over in your place and did that to your community, or your community, I don't think you'd like it either.
Really, just as a person, I mean, you personally, if you went to a meeting that they were supposed to give you information about the effect that it's gonna have on your community and your postal service, and they gave you absolutely nothing, wouldn't you feel that that was disrespectful? I mean, you gave absolutely nothing, even the information is limited, because we feel like we're pulling teeth, because we're only getting answers to questions. If we don't ask the right question, we're not gonna get an answer. That's obvious what's going on here. Now you said, next time, at least you brought some management personnel, because you said that you could not answer the operation side, but the operation questions you're answering. When you started talking about the mailboxes and stuff like that, you started answering all those operational questions and stuff like that that you said you couldn't deal with last time. But you're talking about a building that nobody has seen what you looked at, no diagram of the building, no why we couldn't do it on here, specifically why we couldn't do it, what was the problem with the access. Now all of a sudden, that parking lane is gonna magically disappear. If we could do that much work, we could have showed the community more respect in this thing, at least give them some paper to show them what you're talking about, show them where to write their comments if you truly want a comment period, because this is what this is supposed to be for, so we can make our comment. And basically what you said at the beginning of it is, now I can give you the address because the deal is done. Basically, that's what you said. The deal is done. Now I can give you more information because you said it was somewhere around 14th Street. Now we have a specific address that you couldn't give us before because the deal is done. So this is really like a farce that we're going through, because now you're basically sent out notification to the employees, finally send the notification to the union that they're going to go down to Old Chelsea until you finish the construction of the new site. So what is the purpose of this if the deal is done?
Well, it's not done yet. I mean, that's why we're here having this meeting. I mean, nothing is set in stone, so.
You sent the notification to the employees saying to report to Old Chelsea Station.
But that's a different, that's different though, because we
How's
have
that
to,
different?
because we have to move. We have to move, so we have to domicile it. But what he's saying is that I guess the lease, what he's saying is the lease hasn't been signed to the point where, yes, this day, this time, we're paying X amount of dollars to move into that location. So it is.
You said Google had a proposal on the table, where basically you turned down. He gave us an exact address. So he says, when he opened up the meeting, he said, we'll let you know when we finish building it out. That's going to be approximately the fall. Am I hearing something different?
You're right.
So the deal is done.
But then that's still, again, but the deal, what he's saying is the deal hasn't been done. That's the plan. Now, if what we're getting, give me one second, but that's what he's saying.
No, it's not.
Am I saying that you're?
Well, this isn't a perfect situation, okay? Hey,
I mean, I'm
You had
must be
plenty
hearing
of time
something
to make it
different. The deal
perfect,
is
though.
done.
You did.
You did say it. You did.
You said we just got to build it out. Probably we'll be moving in the fall. Not we looking to move in the fall. We'll be moving in the fall. Is that? Am I hearing? Did I hear the same thing?
No.
Did somebody else heard something different?
No, this is.
So basically, the deal is done. So the employees have been notified. We basically said no to the 8th Avenue side. We said no to the 15th and 16th Street, wherever it's at. I have no idea what you're talking about because we haven't seen it. Only you have seen it. Now you said, even after the meeting, you knew what our concerns was. You yourself said you never went back to the site. So how did you address our original concerns to come back here is what I mean from our original concerns, because the concerns haven't changed.
Well,
But you said we never went back to the site, we didn't look at it, but we're about ready to sign off.
Right, we didn't go back to the 15th Street site. The 8th Avenue site, I didn't visit. So I can't speak on the 8th Avenue site. I didn't visit the 8th Avenue site. So that's new for me. That whatever we're talking about with the 8th Avenue site. By the time that I became involved, the only thing that was open to me was the 15th Street site. So I'm not sure about how the 8th Avenue site was either dissolved or why we turned it down. I can't answer that question. But what I can say is that we know that one way or the other they were going to be impacted, and we had to give that letter. Now, I guess, ultimately we have to know whether or not that 426 site is where we're going to go. If it's set in stone, I'm not privy to the fact that whether or not it's set in stone.
And I get that, brother, and I hear what you're saying. This is what I don't get. Everything that was sent to the politicians said you was going to come here to get information, so that we can have an idea what the post office is going to do, what the full impact is going to be to the community, what the full impact is going to be to the employees and stuff like that. In my opinion, give me your opinion. What does information mean?
Well, I mean, you know, I'm not saying that anybody's here wrong. Yeah, you should have had letters. We should have given
Something.
You, we should have given you
I mean, something.
paper. Right. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying
Absolutely nothing.
I'm not saying that's wrong. That's not wrong.
This is the second meeting. So you would figure after the disrespect of the first meeting and how everybody felt, that the second meeting, we will go out our way to at least, if nothing else, maybe not change our mind,
Right.
but show some respect to the community.
Understood.
And you come back with nothing.
Understood.
Absolutely nothing. Not one sheet of paper is here to give anybody. That is absolutely wrong.
I understood. I can't argue that point.
And I mean, this is a travesty to even call this a hearing. This is, yeah, you know what? You're right, it is a hearing, because all I'm doing is hearing, because I ain't seeing nothing. You're right, it is absolutely a hearing.
This young lady had a hand up, and I don't want to bypass you.
The question has been talked about, but this is an informational meeting. We have 30 days to comment. But is it a done deal? Will you say honestly, have you signed your lease or bought the property? Is it done?
No.
It's so you can get out of it if you want to?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. I just want to be on the record that it's not a done deal. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Robert Adler with Congressman Nadler's office. I appreciate everyone's comments here, and I just want to make sure, a little bit to follow up on that, to make sure I sort of understand the process. Today's hearing, which at our request you guys are reholding because there's so little information previously, is specifically about, and correct me if I'm wrong here, about the possible closure and relocation of the Port Authority Finance Station?
Yes, we're going to have to move temporarily until the new space is ready.
So can you be a little bit more specific? Because I guess my concern is as I understand it, the closure date is set for before the comment period on the closure and relocation.
That's correct.
When is the closure date again?
And why is that? That's a big inconvenience.
Can I ask you one question? So why did you bring us here again?
Right.
You told us the same story last time.
And we were freezing.
And again, you have nothing in paper to explain anything that you're trying to say. Is it because it's a public housing development directly across the street and we have no value? That's what you're looking at when you face the community. We're people just like everybody. Wait, let me finish.
Okay.
We're people just like everybody else. But we always become second-class citizens because it's public housing. And that's not fair to us. Okay? And we want you guys to stop abusing the community and lying to us. Okay? It's not only the employees you're lying to me, you're lying to the electors, and you're lying to everyone. So be honest and put something in writing so we can read it and know what the hell you're really trying to do. If we don't open up.
Okay, let me just say this. You guys are absolutely right when you say that we didn't show you the respect when you look at no paperwork, when you look at a lack of information. But as I stand here representing the United States Postal Service and I hear that we're treating you differently because you're from the housing development, let me just tell you, I was born in 1973 and I didn't move out of New York City public housing until 1999. So I have the utmost respect for people who live in New York City Housing Authority. I've been there, and I understand. So this for me, personally, what I can tell you with 100% certainty has nothing to do with the community itself. I can tell you that. It has nothing to do with how we feel about the people in the community. There clearly are some issues here that we completely blew it, and we dropped the ball on, without question. Why? You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. So, you know, wait, it is not community-based, and we should have done 1,000% better job. You're absolutely right.
Mr. Ames?
Yes.
You're not the person that is making this decision and calling the shots here. So you can stand here and preach all day to the people here about how you come from public housing and how this is not about the community, the decision that is being made is not community-based. You can say that all day because you're not the one signing anything or making the decision. You're just the front piece standing here to relay a message to people. So you may feel that it's not community-oriented, the decision, but your higher-ups, that possibly could be what it is. So you're not speaking from a position of authority to say that. You're not.
Let me correct that.
No, let me finish.
Because that's not
let
true.
me finish.
That's not accurate.
Let me finish.
Okay.
Because you are not the person in the authoritative position to make a decision whether this lease goes through or not. It is beyond you and above you. So it's insulting again to stand here and say to all of us, well, I come from a housing project, because I guess a bunch of us in here that came from a housing project, that was born and raised in a housing project, that moved out when we became adults as well, when our circumstances became a little better. So to stand here and say that speech, I find insulting, because just because your background made you from the same place that people are living in now don't mean that you still identify with us, or that your higher-ups are on the same level and same page. So I think that's
So let me
disrespectful
address
and
that.
insulting.
When you said that I had no parts and it's above me and all of that, that's not accurate. When they came out to review these sites, specifically they asked me to come so that I can give my input on these locations. So that's completely inaccurate to say that I have no say-so in where this location was going to be.
You don't.
Okay,
Because
that's your position.
You're not signing off on it.
As a
Well,
representative of the people and of the community, because we are part of the community, we know firsthand that on your level, you are not calling the shots.
That's not true.
We do know that. You can say that.
That's
all
inaccurate.
over this above you.
I'm telling you.
And it's not to be disrespectful that I say that, but it's the truth. Because
not
you are not the one, you may give them your input. You may give them your input, but your input means absolutely nothing if your bosses say that this is where they're going and what they want to do.
Right.
Just like there were management people, personnel in these stations that don't want the service, their staffing cut short because of how it affects the community and the services. Your higher-ups still tell y'all cut, and you still don't have a right to say, no, don't